Another game that's like not really a game, quote unquote.
But one that I think all three of us were really positive on, as well as Pete and Mary, pretty much took the GameSpot office like by a stealthy storm. We're talking about ABZU.
Yeah.
So this is under a lot of people's radar. So before we get into your opinion about it in your review, which
or
like,
their
was
sonar.
Nice. I was trying to set up a Scott joke at some point. It wouldn't be
There's a clap for you.
Yeah.
Help myself. I'm a terrible human. You should all hate me.
No,
anyway.
it's all right. It wasn't like I've seen like in the comments like Echo the Dolphin jokes.
Yeah.
So that's more appropriate. Even though it's not a dolphin, it's not anything like Echo the Dolphin, it's just underwater. But anyway, so tell us like what ABZU is in a nutshell if you can.
Sure. So it's an underwater exploration game. It's very much like Journey. So there's no dialogue. The characters don't really have names. There's no even real context. It's just you sort of wake up in the middle of the ocean and you begin your forward journey. It's a very linear experience, but you're also can kind of explore at your own pace for the majority of the game. So you can really enjoy the sea life. That's all very believable. Like all of the ecosystems you interact with are like happening around you and just kind of subsist without you even influencing them. It's just you can watch and enjoy all the stuff happening around you. It's a very, like, I think the way I put it in my reviews, it's a very profoundly peaceful experience. But there is more of a story. The more you play, you start to uncover different aspects of the world, and you realize that there is kind of that everything you uncover is alluding to this sort of narrative. And the more you play, the more you understand. So it actually becomes a really moving and like just kind of timeless experience, and it goes in some really surprising directions. It evolves in ways that I really didn't see coming, and that's really all I want to say about it. It's one of those really difficult to discuss games because it is relatively short. It only took me about 4 hours, and I was really taking my time. So the more you talk about it, the more you risk kind of spoiling the enjoyment. But suffice to say, it is more than an ocean life simulator, even if it really is a really great ocean life simulator for a lot of the experience.
Yeah, it's weird because even though there are kind of spoilers, even like talking to other people in the office, it's kind of hard to describe like what the spoilers are. It's a very kind of like it's like you compared it to Journey a lot. Could you talk about that, like the comparisons with that? Or
yeah, totally. People who have been reading previews of the games probably know that this game was actually made by Journey's art director. It's a new studio, Giant Squid, but it's several team members who worked on either Journey or Flower, a few different games of that kind of ilk.
Same composer as well, Austin Wintory.
Yeah, and the music is really fantastic.
We can get into that because that was a big part of your review as well.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, it doesn't have Journey's multiplayer, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, I think part of what made Journey such a powerful experience for most players was that moment of walking up to another character in the world and realizing that it's another human, and you can't actually speak to each other, but you can still kind of communicate. Like that was such an original and interesting idea, and so powerful in the context of that world where you did feel kind of isolated and lonely. So this game does not have multiplayer, but it kind of fills that void in a different way. And like I was describing earlier, it shares a lot of just structural similarities to Journey in that it is linear, it is brief, it is wordless, it is primarily about exploration. It's relatively light on mechanics. So there's no combat. You can't even actually die in the game. I mean, I actually tried. I messed around to see if like I could find a way to fail, and you really can't. But that I think just speaks to the type of experience it is. It's kind of like a beautiful and meditative experience more so than like a traditional, video game in like the Mario or, shooter sense or anything like that.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it, but there were a couple times throughout it when I thought I was like, it's lurking into the territory where I feel like it's just trying to gamify things, whether it's through like puzzles or like collectibles, but it never was too difficult or too kind of cloying that it got in the way of the experience it was trying to be. I liked it just for like how peaceful and like zen it is. And
totally.
Like initially when they first announced it, I thought it was just like a scuba diving simulator before I really looked into who it was and whatnot. Not like a hardcore simulator, but like I have a lot of background in scuba diving, oddly enough. And so I just like the setting. Like the setting and like itself was initially appealing, but you start getting into you start discovering new creatures like like these different barracuda, or I don't know if these are actual like real. I don't think these are scientifically.
I think they are to a degree. I mean, like, so one of the mechanics in the game is you can sort of cling to larger animals and just ride around on them. And when you do, like, their name will appear in the bottom right corner, and it's it's not like their Latin scientific genus
anglerfish or sperm
but
whales.
Yeah, it'll tell you what the animal is, and it seems like they went to some effort to ensure that the animals looked and behaved in ways that correlated with the real animal. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that this is going to be like an educational tool. It's not quite at that level, but certainly it seems like they paid attention to the species they were including and what they look like and how they act and how they interact. So to some extent, I think it is like somewhat scientifically accurate. I don't know that that was like
maybe not insofar as you'll find like this kind of orca whale alongside an anglerfish at this depth or anything. But they are like the artwork itself is very. Despite the fact, like I think you called it Wind Waker-esque, it's also very, they are like they're detailed creatures, despite the fact that it's kind of a minimalistic look. But also, you know, like it is tough to talk about because you can't get into like who you are or like what is going on at all, whether there is something going on.
Which is frustrating, but
right. But it's also like I guess like the number one thing for me I was worried about is. Ever since like games became 3D, swimming has been one of gaming's big problems. So before like I heard you and Pete come in after you had reviewed it and Pete had played it as well, I was worried. I was saying I don't want to devote 2 hours or however long it is to like struggling with swimming controls. But turns out that's not a problem here.
No, not at all. The swimming feels fantastic, like better than probably any 3D game that I can remember. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to the control scheme, which actually is very close to like a racing game's control scheme. When you think about it, it's sort of odd, but it works. It makes perfect sense. So you're using R2, like the right trigger to swim forward. So no matter which direction the camera's facing, if you hold R2, your character just swims forward, which is great because that lets you kind of look around and enjoy the environment. And then you use the left stick to sort of change direction, and the animation is so fluid. Like you will just kind of flip or twist in whatever way, and it looks really graceful, and it always is very responsive to your input. So the swimming ends up feeling really fantastic. Again, probably better than any game that I can remember. Mm-hmm. And then you throw in like the boost mechanic where you have to kind of like rhythmically tap the X button to build up boost. And like just that can be really exhilarating. You can kind of maneuver through objects in the environment or like breach out of the water and do flips, and you can get fish to follow you. And again, this sounds like kind of silly, but it's actually like really enjoyable. And it fits with sort of the peaceful nature of the game, but it gives it a little more energy and is a little more kind of fun and active, and you know, it gives the game some gameplay to fall back on. Yeah.
Can you talk about you did mention in your review the score by Austin Winter. You think you said it adapts to the actual what's happening. And
so what's really cool is, I mean, again, it's a linear game. So as you move forward, you can kind of, or at least when I started paying attention to it, I realized that it's not like, oh, I'm in area A, therefore song A plays. And then I went to area B, so song B started. It's more like as you move, the music will adapt to like sort of where you are and what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And it seems to do that on the fly. Like it's so subtle, you don't even really notice. It's just there adding this kind of like emotional texture or undercurrent underneath the experience. And it doesn't ever really call attention to itself. It just dynamically shifts and adjusts and stitches itself together in these different ways to provide that texture, to like propel you through the experience and keep you in a particular mood that matches whatever's happening around you. It's like so elegantly done. It's you don't even really notice it unless you're really paying attention.
Yeah, the momentum at specific parts, you know, you get into these faster paced parts, the momentum of the score parallels that of the gameplay and whatnot, which is a really nice feeling because then after a while you have like these schools of fish swimming along with you. You have these like big clouds of fish that you go through. There's one part. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. There are specific moments that like I was talking to Pete Brown about, and I was saying, dude, this part was great, and like I told Mary the same thing about certain parts. So there are memorable moments in this game, But it strikes me as this singular experience. Something we were all curious about, and Dodsworth N7 in the Twitch chat had asked if there was multiplayer akin to Journeys, or is this just strictly single player experience?
No. It's purely single player. Yeah, and in a way, when you play the game, you'll understand why. Again, that's one of the frustrations about the game, that like you don't want to divulge too much about it, but it is the kind of game that's best enjoyed on your own. Just like put on headphones, sit by yourself, just like chill out and play this game and just let it kind of wash over you, man. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get too like hippie zen about it because that's not really who I am, but I still found this game like really cathartic and just calming and beautiful and just like exactly what I think a lot of people might need. It's like an amazing palate cleanser between games like, I don't know, Overwatch or something really competitive, really high stakes. Like it's something really great to like just go do this instead.
Yeah, and it's weird because I think in my current like habit of playing games right now, even if I'm reviewing stuff, I'll play something for about 2 hours and get up for like 10 minutes if I need to, or you know, like just maybe like if it's the weekend, I'll play for 2 hours, go out and do something, come back and finish something off later. This is like the perfect length for me to just sit down in one sitting literally without getting up. And like Jake and I both played it last night, and then we talked about it afterward. But that was a thing. I didn't even want to stop playing because it wasn't like pulling me through at a breakneck pace, but it was at the same time just such a calming thing. And like you said, it's just what I needed. I just beat Doom the weekend before. I've been playing Overwatch, these fast-paced kind of just like hellish shooters. And then like that's why I was kind of excited about it, because I love Journey. I loved like Gone Home. I'm excited for Tacoma, Fulbright Company's other game coming out. I don't know, Jake, what did you think about like ABZU overall? Like, did it line up with your expectations of what it was going to be, or without spoiling anything, obviously, did it become something altogether new?
I actually didn't really have expectations for it. I knew about this game, and I knew it had a lot to do with people who worked on Journey. But I mean, then I heard Pete talk about it, and then I heard you talk about it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna play this game, and I did, and I thought it was phenomenal. I think what I have to say is that if you're deciding between Batman or ABZU, I'd get ABZU.
Yeah, it's nice that they're both kind of like bite size, but ABZU I think did encompass like a little broader thing, without sounding too pompous and artistic about it. There are like deeper things you can glean from it, whether you want to or not. If you don't want to, it's just a very fluid, fun thing to do. Like, I know I kind of waded into the comments on accident, and I was just
I did
so many curmudgeons.
It's one of those things where people saying it's not a game.
Yeah, it's so joyless.
Which
that's
not an argument. I don't want to bring up the whether these are games argument right now. That's a whole other
those
thing.
people just bum me out so much. Just like, if you're not into it, that's fine. You don't need to be. It's like there's a whole world. Like we have Dark Souls, we have Overwatch, we have Fury, we have Headlander, we have all these games that either are explicitly trying to be old games or like the modern equivalent of those games and are challenging and skillful. And like all that stuff is amazing. Just let this exist as well. Like, we have room for all this stuff. Like, chill out, guys. It's a beautiful experience. If you don't want that, totally cool. Yeah. You don't need to be like a joyless jerk and try to ruin it for everybody else. That's all I'll say. I know you don't want to get into it. I'm sorry. I just had a whole morning of like people being angry in the comments and shaking my head and getting depressed.
Yeah, I'm sorry to bring that up.
No, it's inevitable with these types of games. Yeah. People will always want to have that conversation. This isn't a game, and it's just it's exhausting every time.
It's just shirking those definitions can help us create more for the medium, I think. But again, that's a different argument, and kind of I don't want to get into it right now. I don't think anybody wants us to get into it. What were you gonna say though?
Maybe I shouldn't say what I was gonna say.
Go for it. I don't care. Go for it.
Oh, I mean, if it plays so well. Like, it plays so well. Like,
it's
I feel
a fun
like
game.
That the argument should be over after that, because like the swimming, and like what Mike was saying, like my least favorite thing in games is swimming usually. Like, the minute I dive underwater, I'm like, great, here we go. But this, like, the entire experience, just like the swimming just feels so streamlined, so great, and like breaching up out of the water.
Yeah, it's
and
fun.
Like,
it's exhilarating.
Yeah. Oh, actually, one small thing. Did you guys figure out the boost mechanic, like the triple boost?
Yeah.
Okay. Because like I wasn't paying attention when they told me, so I just kept like furiously tapping it. But if you do the tempo, the 1, 2, 3, he does the kick, and then the mermaid, and then the just full on boost, which is great.
Like the golden flippers.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't figure out that Rob Handler found out was you can do cannonballs. Like, if you breach out of the water and hit the circle button, your guy like tucks into the cannonball. I didn't figure that out. Like, I saw him doing it. I was like, how are you doing that? I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of like little just nuances and worked into the mechanics. They're really important, but like, it's cool that they're there.
Yeah. So. Do either of you feel the need to go back? Or
totally.
Like, do you want to?
God, yeah.
Okay.
I already did. I already went back and like played halfway through it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to play it this weekend, I think, again.
Yeah.
For me, I fully expect this to be one of those games that I play like once a year. Like, I just want to go back to that world and spend time there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm kind of different from you guys, and it was a time and place thing for me. Like, my lights were off last night. It was just a long day, and I just finished it, and that's all I need. It's not that I don't like it at all. I really like it. I completely agree. You gave it a 9 out of 10. Like we were talking, like, what should the score be? But after a while, it's in one of those games. It's hard to assign a score, but I completely get it. It's going to be different for everybody. For me, it was just one thing I wanted to just get out. The music was great. The art was great. The actual like way you move through it and the way it kind of tells its weird like simplistic story. Again, without going into spoilers, but it does go into like territory you might not expect, or maybe you do. I don't know, depending on your kind of what you're expecting, I guess. Which that's always difficult to balance with what it really is. But yeah, it was a surprise for me. I probably won't go back to it, like I said, but I really enjoyed like that bite-sized experience. I think it was just what I need. I think it's like you said, what a lot of people need right now.
Yeah, I would hope that people just give it a chance. Like, I think people will be very surprised at how it affects them. Like, just it affects their mood, affects their emotions. It's just that kind of game that will get in your head in like the best way and just kind of wash over you, and like other things just stop mattering. It really is just like meditation in game form, and it's beautiful. I sincerely recommend everybody try it.
Cool. Yeah, me too. I think Jake, you could probably support that, and Pete and Mary. I don't know if Rob liked it.
I think he
assuming
did. He seemed to be enjoying it. I don't know that he beat it, but he seemed to be enjoying it when I walked over and he was playing.
Cool. Well, that's ABZU. You can read Scott Butterworth's review. It's a 9 out of 10 on GameSpot. Go delve into the minutia on our website and let us know what you think in the comments below.